So great to have the magnificent, wonderful, magical Emma O'Brien back on the show. There's always so much that she brings. She's just a light and so interesting, so tuned in, so much practical advice for walking through these challenging times and talking about creativity. Loved it. Love her.
Yes. And we were trying to be nice to Debbie today because she thinks she's not creative.
And she's wrong.
So these girls are always helping me find my creativity. And I think the Warrior Parent podcast is pretty darn creative. So everybody tune in and keep watching and keep downloading.
Yes, it's a good one.
The world is a lot right now. Are you feeling it? We all need new tools to help us walk through the chaos with grace, ease, and compassion for each other and for ourselves. In this podcast, you'll hear from parents, educators, and other experts who can bring perspective to the monumental job of parenting. It's time to level up and be warriors for our kids and our communities. This is the Warrior Parent Podcast. I'm Marci Mitchell.
And I'm Debbie DeMano. As parents, we understand that it really does take a village to raise our kids. We hope that this podcast serves to create and support that community for you. Join us as we discuss and practice our core tools, which are proven mind-body techniques that can be used by anyone to improve your life on a daily basis.
Welcome back to the Warrior Parent Podcast. It is the month of March, and our theme this month is creativity. Yes, you are. And the tagline is releasing perfectionism, shame, and old paradigms. So I hope you're up for that. It's a great topic, and I think we all can use a little of that. And so because we're having this great conversation, we're bringing back our wonderful friend, Emma O'Brien, who you have seen before on the podcast and is just, an amazing woman. We're really great to have her here. She's a certified heart math coach and a Martha Beck Wayfinder trained life coach. She blends compassionate, intuitive, and practical coaching skills with her extensive expertise in helping her clients shift their mindsets and change their lives for the better. She helps folks get unstuck, recover from life burnout, overcome overwhelm, a lot of that going on right now, and reignite their passion and purpose. Alongside her coaching practices, Emma brings 2 decades of entrepreneurial expertise to the table. She's an award-winning dog photographer, which I just love so much, and having run successful photography studios in both the UK and South Africa. She's adept at helping her clients with small business marketing and strategy. And she hosts the Lemons and Pineapples podcast, which you should definitely check out. And that is a weekly show where she shares life hacks, coaching tools, and inspiring, insightful guest interviews. So welcome back to the Warrior Parent Podcast, Emma.
Thank you very much for having me, Marci and Debbie. It is fabulous to be here with you once again.
This is one of my favorite podcasts because I just love Emma so much. I can just hang out and talk to her and listen to her beautiful voice. And I could go on and on about Emma. But yeah, so today we are talking about creativity, and everybody knows Debbie doesn't do creative or doesn't think so. So I think this talk is for me, maybe. Marci's creative as all get out. Like, oh my gosh, like she just rolls out of bed being creative every day. But anyway, Emma, why don't you get us started on creativity, maybe what sparks creativity? Because I could use a little bit of that right now.
Absolutely. And I think I'm just going to put in here that everybody is creative.
Yes.
I know in the introduction, Marci shared that I'm a photographer. And I think often we think people who do photography or do art or do music, you kind of have this label of this is what it means to be creative. And I think when we bring creativity into our everyday life, it's about coming up with new ideas. It's about different ways of looking at things. You could be creative with your meals you cook. You can be creative in your garden. I think it's about finding the joy in everyday things and looking at life from a slightly different perspective, I think, is my overall view of creativity for regular people, if you like, who aren't on a kind of fixed path of I'm an artist.
Yeah.
And I think ways to spark creativity, you know, we've talked in previous episodes about heart math, and one of the things with that is kind of bringing you home to yourself and calming you internally, so you've got access to better ways of thinking. And I think when you can calm your got a friend who uses the phrase calm your farm. When you can calm your farm,
I like it.
It's a great phrase. I love it. And you can just calm the internal chatter. You make room for new ideas to come through. And I think sometimes we just need to still the internal chatter. And you might do that meditating. You might do that from breathing. You might do that from sitting in the garden. But for people who are perhaps not familiar with anything like that, or just think, I can't meditate, can't sit still, going for a walk in the woods is a way that you might find some creative ideas come to you, because you've got your senses are busy, your brain is looking at what's happening around you. You can listen to the birds, and you'll find that when you just give I believe it's the default mode network is the one in our brains that chatters away to us. It gives it something else to look at, and then it kind of makes room for something else new and fresh to come in. So active rest, things like gardening, even if you've got a coloring book or something. I might be creative as a photographer, but if you ask me to do any art or draw, I just get frustrated. So coloring in a coloring book, so, you know, something like that. Just to still and keep your hands busy just makes a little bit of room in your brain for something new to arrive.
Yeah.
So just creating space, essentially.
Creating space.
Right?
Absolutely.
Just,
And and going back to the walk that you were talking about, we know, you know, you're talking about heart brain coherence or heart math, but also we know when you're walking and your feet are moving, you know, left, right, that calms the parasympathetic nervous system as well. So just, you know, just when you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, all the things that a lot of us in America are feeling these days, and probably in a lot of other places around the world. Just taking a short walk, if you can get yourself to get out there for 5 minutes, can really calm things. And then, like you say, spark some ability. Of course, if you're walking outside, then you've got nature. And that's always a great, like, what's the great creativity is nature. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to be in some more wild places, but even if not, you know, even in the city, you'll find those things, even just looking up at the sky, the expanse of blue or clouds or whatever. Great practices.
And I think anything you can do to put you into a more positive frame of mind, like you said, it calms that nervous system down, it calms your stress response down. And when we've not got fight or flight or freeze running, we've got more capacity to be able to be open to new ideas, to see other things. One thing that's been on my mind a lot of late is the concept of awe and finding wonder in things. You know, life is hard for, like you said, it's in America. I mean, I feel for you with the roller coaster that everybody's sitting on. And I think uncertainty is all around us, and it's learning to find little pockets of happiness whilst that is going on. And I'll give you an example. So I'm a big nature lover. I've shared with the pair of you that I've been kind of doing, as somebody described it today, shamanic arts, been dabbling in the shamanic arts. So, and of course, shamanic ways of being for me is very much about being in touch with nature and living in harmony with nature and kind of listening and tuning into it. And we've had a pair of birds nesting in the garden, and I've watched as this pair of birds have gone from making the nest, and literally this afternoon their baby fledged out of the nest. So then I'm panic stations to make sure nobody ate the baby bird. Anyway, it looks like it's quite a strong baby bird. But I've been sitting watching them and being able to kind of marvel at the real wonder of watching this new life unfold. And I watched the parent birds. They would disappear off from the nest at the same time in opposite directions and arrive back at the same time and feed this baby in turn and go off again. And you know, you look at it and just, it is absolutely wondrous really, when you sit
Mhm.
and focus on that. And I think
Yes.
it's when you can start to see the little moments of joy in the everyday. And you can do
Right.
that in a city because there'll be all sorts of creatures everywhere if you know if
Hmm.
that's your jam.
Yeah.
But when you start to shift your mindset and shift your focus to start looking at the good things, looking at little
Yeah.
joyful things, that helps to spark creativity as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the curiosity, right? I was telling Marcy, so I have this Rhodesian, right, which is 10 months old now. But when we first brought him home, it's the curiosity and the wonder of a brand new dog, right? And so there was one day we're out for a walk and this little hummingbird came. It was like right in front of him. And the look on his face like was just and all I wanted to do is try to camera. I'm like, I guess you're just gonna have to remember it, right? But it
Hmm.
reminded me of that peace, that curiosity. Like I think we feel so beaten up right now. Well, and I mean, man, we had this podcast yesterday. I think Marcy and I are still reeling a little bit from the podcast, but life feels so heavy and so tough that we lose sight of being curious. We think, well, what in the hell could we possibly be curious about? Like, right? Like it just
Hmm.
gets so heavy. You think about
Yeah.
especially people who, are having depression and those other things. Like, right, how do you spin out of that to find the awe, to find the curiosity, right? Not so
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really creativity is self-care, and we talk about self-care a lot
Mhm.
because there's so much going on now, and so we talk about being completely overwhelmed and stressed and fearful. But if you can just force yourself to take that, like maybe you just say, okay, 3 minutes right now or 5 minutes, I'm gonna, like you say, color or take a walk outside or just breathe, then you make a
Mhm.
little bit of space to take that next step. And it can be so step by step right now, but creativity is one of the things getting into your creative space. And as Emma was saying, as we're all saying, it's not always like I like how you when you said schematic arts, it made me think like you could make anything arts, right?
Yeah.
Like let's make our
Yeah.
lives art. So like maybe you're going to do the dishwashing and it's going to be like the plate cleaning arts. Like make it sacred, make it fun, make it like so now you're in there and you've if you're hand washing and you're cleaning and you're transforming a plate from dirty to clean and like so it's not always these big moments. It's not always with art. It's not always the magnificent painting or sculpture. It can
Yeah.
be what did you transform today or what did you find the beauty in today? Maybe it's something that looks like shit and that's where you go in and it's that again inside job like okay, I'm not changing what's out there, but I'm changing how I perceive it. I'm changing
Yeah.
how I respond to it, rather going into these old patterns. And so
Yeah,
like especially when
100%.
you're just so close. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I know we've talked about it before. I think being able to self-reflect on what creativity means to you. I think this is a thing, a great thing to do with success as well, because I think we have things like success. We have a media version of that, don't we? Of what it means.
Yes.
It means, private jet, a yacht,
Right.
loads and loads of money.
Yeah.
And actually, some of the most successful people you look at are deeply unhappy. I mean, it's just like no amount of jets can fill the
Yeah.
void. And I
Right.
think,
Absolutely. Yeah.
creativity is a similar thing. Is what's your view on creativity? What does creativity mean to you?
Hmm.
And I think then we take away the thought of, oh, I have to go to the art store and paint something and then beat myself up because it doesn't look like I think it should look and
Right.
use it to reinforce your own kind of self-negativity is
Hmm.
Yeah.
maybe it is going to the art store and work away if it is, but it's what does it mean? Maybe it means writing poetry. I've got a coaching client who quite likes writing poetry and it's her creative outlet. Some of it gets
Mhm.
shared, most of it won't ever see the light of day, and that's okay. If it's just for
Yeah.
you, it's something creative for you. And I think creativity is a wonderful outlet to express what's happening internally
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So if you
Right.
can look at it as something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, we just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about something very exciting that Debbie and I and our team have been working on for literally years. And that is our Cour Tools app, which is now available at the Google Play Store and at the Apple Store. And you can sign up for it now, and you will get access to all the tools we've been talking about on the podcast.
And if you're an early adopter of Cour Tools, you can get a VIP price for $49 for a lifetime. That's
Lifetime.
right.
Buy it once, and we'll keep
Lifetime.
updating it too.
Yes, yes. So we're super excited about this. Go to Apple Store, go to Google Play, and purchase it now.
Cour Tools, COUR, capital TOOLS.
Go get it. My daughter was recently going to a local therapist, and the therapist was doing some work with her, and she discovered that my daughter's got some disassociation going on. And like she's having trouble finding that thing that she loves. She kind of just like bubbly. She kind of likes everything, but she's trying to get her to like slow down and figure out, no, like wait, like be with your body, be with your heart, and find out what that is. Now, my daughter, like you, is an amazing photographer. She's gone to art camps over the years, so she went, and I had a bunch of old art pieces from the workshops we used to do, and she started painting, and she discovered that it was calming her because she has some POTS issues going on. Her sleep started to be better, and it wasn't much, she just like 20 minutes after work, just to come home, calm down for a minute, just take a brush and do whatever.
Right.
But like with the whole mental health thing, it's kind of hard to know, is it the chicken or the egg, right? Like, so if I do the art, do I feel better? Or if I'm stuck, do I start the art? Right? Like it's hard to know where to start or to get people, from those barriers, right? And I think so many times, I think for me, it's the barriers, the perfection, the fear of failure. God forbid I do art in public that I have to compare mine to someone like Marci. But, right. But anyway, it's like it's a lot of that too, I think, for people, right? That just there's those barriers that they can't get beyond. I think once they got through it, they pushed through it, they realized like, oh my God, like why haven't I been doing this?
Yeah.
Time, right?
Yeah, and I love that you bring those up as barriers and mention specifically perfectionism and comparison, which we know are both just stealers of joy, from Brene Brown. So that's the piece, and it's hard, especially the comparison, because that's just, I don't know, our society just raises us in that. But if we can put that aside and stop doing that, and that's why, some of the art classes I did, and I am not an artist, like a painting artist. My creativity is more just in like, I don't know, I like transforming things, but not in a fine arts way. In a, what can I do with this? And how can I shift this room around, or go to one of my favorites is go to like the thrift store and find some weird thing and then turn it into something else.
Yes.
But but with our friend Allison Tomei, who does she does art visioning, she does something called soul art. And so she has people in a room with a canvas who are people like me or Debbie, who are not, fine artists, but she has you have the canvas, and you're just painting, and you start with words, like you start with visioning, and then you're writing the words, and then you're painting over it. And then suddenly she'll be like, okay, and the music's playing and she's talking, and then she'll be like, okay, turn your canvas upside down, and so it's not, so that kind of helps you not get into that perfection. And then she's like, okay, switch your brush to your non-dominant hand and change color and turn 3 times. And so it's taking away, it's sort of stripping all of these paradigms and old ideas and letting you just be in that moment of just paint what you come up with. Don't compare it, just like kind of feel the joy of what you created. So
yeah. And I imagine at the end of that class, it must have been really wonderful for everybody to sit together and show everybody else what
Exactly.
they created, because I bet it was completely different
Hmm.
for everybody, and you probably
Yes.
look at it and go, wow, where did that come from? and
Yeah.
and I think it's when you allow yourself, not when you're allowed, because
Yeah.
the facilitator's there to make it happen. When you allow yourself to let go of it has to look a certain way, it
Yes.
has to look, have to paint it with a certain technique, it has to be like this. When you let go of all of those expectations, I
Yeah.
think you allow your creativity to come out. Often we
Yeah.
keep it sort of locked in a box because we want it to be like other people's. We want it to paint
Yes.
Yeah.
like Picasso, and then you don't, and you think, oh God, I don't match up. And actually you paint like you, if you're painting or writing
Yeah.
poems or whatever it is. Taking pictures. Dancing is another one. I think
Oh, yeah.
to come back to your point, Debbie, about your daughter looking for something she enjoys, I think it's to listen to that kind of inner urge of what do I enjoy doing? If I had free time and I could do anything, what would I
Yeah.
do
Mm.
to be
Yes.
creative? It might be a vegetable patch. It might be a herb garden on your kitchen windowsill.
Yeah.
I say
Hmm.
it can be whatever you want it to be. That's the beautiful thing about creativity.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was looking up a little bit of creativity because I have to come up with some piece. But anyway, they came up with these four C's of creativity, right? So the first one was the big C, which is what we're talking about, like the Picasso and those who are doing amazing things. Um, Number two is a professional C, so the pro C. So those are those who are probably like you who are getting paid to do photography, that sort of thing. There was the little C, which is everyday creativity, like you said,
Mhm.
like washing the dishes or hanging out in your garden or whatever. And then there was the mini C. So the mini C is just through learning and experience, which
Mhm.
I thought was fascinating, right? So they actually do sort of label these things. I always like to be able to come up with a little bit of something, but experiential, which is, what Marci and I talked. That's how Core Experience started, because we
Right.
wanted whatever we were doing to be experiential and they could
Mhm.
learn using the tools being experiential. And I think it's
Mm.
not until you have that experience that these things can actually come to fruition in your life, right? Because someone's just talking at you like, oh, you should do this and you should learn that and you should try
Right.
heart math and you should whatever. But until they experience it, right?
Mhm.
Then it becomes a thing. It becomes one of the four C's of creativity. So I thought that was sort of fascinating that they had broken that down. So little did I know Marci and I do mini C's every day. And I think,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, podcasting is very creative,
Oh
Yeah.
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Right? I think we kind of didn't know what we were getting into when we started this whole thing, but
As usual, we just leapt off the cliff, which has become a theme with us. Like, stay open and just be brave and just leap. And it's served us. It served
Yep.
us. But yeah, this was a big surprise and a big, and you're right, it is creative. It's wonderful. So following up on that, one of the things I love about the podcasting is we start, we have a theme. We didn't in the beginning, we didn't have themes, but we find a person that, we're like, hey, you do this, or you're like, this looks great, let's talk about this. And we don't plan it all out. We don't have questions that we're going to submit. Like, at first we thought, oh, we have to submit questions. We don't do that. We start with an intro. We start with something like Debbie will sort of just come like somewhere, like ask some little question, but then it's very organic, and we
Mhm.
just let the conversation flow. And that is creative, and it's so fun. And I
yeah,
know we have such a good time having these conversations. I hope people enjoy listening to them, but it's just allowing it to unfold. And then you get into things we every day we do a podcast, Debbie and I get off afterwards, and we almost always are like, wow, that was amazing. And it's always unexpected. Like, we don't know. And that's a beautiful thing to have in your life,
yeah.
is just to connect with people, allow people to just talk and share themselves, and then you connect with that, and then just let it unfold.
Yeah. Well, I think
Yeah.
it's the collaboration. I mean,
Mhm.
the people that we have met, like
I know.
you from
Huge
all over the
blessings.
the world.
Yeah.
It just like it expands your mind, right? It's that feeling of expansion and the learning. Like
Yeah.
we learn I feel like, we do this because we're trying to put information out into the world, but what we gain
Oh,
from the
yeah.
conversation
Yep.
is enormous, enormous. And I'm sure you
Yeah.
find this with your podcast as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 100%.
And
100%.
the people that show up, you're like, oh my God, we're talking with, Dr.
Yeah.
So and so from Harvard today. And then, it's like, wow, people, my husband's like, where do you find these people? I'm like, I don't know. Like, they just show up because podcasters, they kind of love each other. They're all trying to support each other and help each other. And that's a really beautiful, creative space to be in, actually.
Absolutely. And I think there's two things in there. There is this piece of allowing. In order to create something
Yes.
new, you have to be open and you have to allow it to unfold. And I think, like you've said with the podcast, because it's not heavily scripted, it organically unfolds. So it's a bit like surprise, where is it going to go? And you
Hmm.
would just allow it to the conversation to meander around. And I think the collaboration piece is really important as well. Often we feel more confident and we create something even better when we bring multiple people into it. And you've got multiple
Yes.
brains who are able to ping
Yes.
pong ideas off each other. I think that's fantastic. And I think creativity is a big act of courage as well. You've got to be
Yes.
courageous to be a podcaster. It's if I look at when I started mine to where mine is now, it for me was a massive confidence building exercise. And
Yes.
it's
Same.
been, if we come to the self-development piece of it, huge confidence builder, because you've got to
Yes.
reach out to people, you've got to think on your feet in a podcast, and it's an amazing experience. So this, when you bring it back to that kind of experiential creativity, each
Hmm.
time you
Hmm.
do it, you learn something and you add it and you make it better next
Mm.
time. And I think
Yeah.
that it's just a metaphor for the whole of life, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
But
It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. I know. I think of the people that we've invited. Of course, we have like amazing people who are regular podcasters and can do this for a living. But then, every once in a while we bring in some friends and family. And, I brought a girlfriend in who I've known for 40 years. She hops on and she's kind of freaking out, right? And then after she does it, she's like, oh my God, like that was cool, right? And so we continue to in like this who like, oh my God, I've never done this. And then they do it. And so you're building their confidence as well to
Yeah.
feel like they went home and told their friends and family, I did a podcast. You got to go listen to my podcast, right? And the whole thing is just the expansion
It's very generative.
right?
yeah,
And that's really a big piece of what's happening now is that we're in this place on the planet that's really challenging. But when we connect with other people, there's these the things that matter that come together and generate more. And that's what it feels like. You make new acquaintances, friends, all over the world, and then ideas come out and we build on them, and the things that we're drawn together you know, for people that are on this journey with us, and it lifts us. And that's, if we could try to do that every day in our lives, especially when we're in these challenging times, take a breath, look out around you, find community, find people that you connect with. And then, I mean, that's really important. And it is creative. Building community is a creative
Mm.
yep.
endeavor that will come back to you, come back to you, come back to you so many fold. It's a beautiful thing.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I could talk to Emma all day, every day.
She'll be back.
She just
Bring her
warms my
back.
heart. Yes. So thank you, Emma, for this conversation.
Yeah.
It's always enlightening having this talk with you.
Yeah, and share again how if people want to work with you in your coaching or want to listen to your podcast, share some of the ways people can find you, following you on your social.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Before I jump into that,
Mm.
Marci and Debbie, for having me. It's wonderful to be invited back repeatedly for the podcast. So I love connecting
Yes.
with you both as well. For people who want to find out more, my website is emmaobriencoach.com. You can find out about my life coaching there. On Instagram and TikTok, I'm at Emma O'Brien Coach. And then the podcast is Lemons and Pineapples, which you'll find on Apple and Spotify. And it's also got you'll find links on Instagram, but it's also got its own little Instagram page, which is Lemons and Pineapples Podcast. So you can find me through all of those avenues. Always happy to chat to people. Obviously, I'm kind of into the life coaching, but also can coach about creativity and photography and the challenges of running a creative business, which we didn't get into today. So that's a story for another day.
Yes. Emma is one-stop shopping. One-stop shopping.
Always open for that conversation. But yes, the people are welcome to get in touch with me. It'd be lovely to hear from people that have listened to the podcast and connect up with some new friends as well.
Yes. Community.
Thank
you, Emma.
Thank you.
Hey, warrior moms. As we started this podcast, we had determined that part of what we were going to do is to create a community. So we have decided to take it to another level, and we have started our own Facebook community in addition to the Warrior Parent Podcast, and it's called
From Chaos to Calm, a sanctuary for moms. Here's what it looks like. It's on Facebook right now. Please go and join it. And just to let you know, we're going to create our Blue Sky accounts right now. We're getting prepared as we watch this weird stuff go on in America. So we may be shifting the whole group to Blue Sky. Just be aware that we got you. We're going to start here. If this turns out to be not a safe place anymore on Facebook, then we will shift over. But what we're creating is a safe space where moms can show up and get information, get support, talk to each other about the things you're going through with your kids, the things you went through with your kids, maybe get some advice from moms, but also other experts. We're going to invite all of our guests and experts to join the group. I hope you will too. This is a place where you can show up and be seen and be heard and be safe. Mom's got you.
Nobody trusts anyone more than moms. So let's do this.
And now for your core mental health break. This is your opportunity to take a moment to support your mental wellness, your peace of mind, your own ease and grace. Take some time every day to support your mental health. You deserve it, and it matters.
Now let's try some bilateral tapping. Just cross your hands over your chest and place them on your shoulders, in the front of your shoulders. And then slowly, consciously tap one side, then the other. Left, right, left, right. You can tap with your feet if you prefer that, over your hands. This is calming your nervous system, bringing you back to a place of center. A simple technique you can do anytime. Thank you for pausing for yourself today. Your mental health is important, and you deserve peace, calm, and ease in your life every day. So please choose to receive it. It is always available right at your center, your heart, your core. Stay well, friends.
Thanks for listening to the Warrior Parent Podcast, which is a production of our nonprofit, Cour Experience, who also creates and distributes Cour tools. You can find us at courexperience.org. Make sure you join us next week for another informative conversation to help you and your family show up mindfully, purposefully, and joyfully with each other and in your community.
Our Cour Tools platform consists of a number of proven tools and techniques that are designed to reduce stress, anxiety, and overwhelm in spite of what's going on in your world. We want to thank Samuel Hale, LLC, for sponsoring this podcast. Technical and marketing support comes from Inspire Your Brand. Our podcast editor is Justin Beeden. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the producers, or the financial supporters. I'm Debbie DeMano.
And I'm Marci Mitchell. Thanks for listening. If you resonate with the idea of creating a community to help support kids and families, won't you join us by following the podcast and sharing this episode? You can even write a review. It truly does take a village, and we appreciate you.